okay. We have to be. What's up, everybody? What is up, everybody? We are so glad that you are tuning in with us today at our Student Sit Down. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to talk about three things. We're going to have our sermon segment where we go over last night's sermon, last night's message. If you didn't check it out, make sure you go to our YouTube or our IGTV and check it out right there. It is Church in the Wild Week 4. Can't wait to wrap it up actually next week. A lot of you may have thought like, oh wow, that's over, it's done. No, listen, next week we're going to continue Church in the Wild. It will be the last week and we will bring this thing to a conclusion. It's going to be legit. Make sure you tune in. But we're going to today talk about what we talked about last night. And then we're going to have some timely talks. What's going on in our community, in our city, in our world right now. And then lastly, we'll finish up with Rudd. What are you doing? But I want to introduce my guests today on our student sit down right here to my left. It may be your right on the screen, but right here we have Isaac Ingram, who is a freshman at Panola College, full ride scholarship. What? Let's go. My brother is a rodeo king. In fact, show off that belt buckle. That brother was like sitting back, like hanging out. I was like, dude, we're gonna have to put some damper on that. It's too shiny. But he literally rides bulls and broncos for a living. He is a student at Panola College in Carthage, Texas. Former Basil Bearcat right here. And so, and then I have another student who is a fan favorite, back for more, Justice Blanchard, a.k.a. Francis, a.k.a. Bill. He hates that. Please don't call him that. That's a made-up name. But again, Justice is back for some more. He is a sophomore, freshman at Iota High School. And again, my name is Weston Weaver, your host for today. Let's get right into it. Last night, we preached. We had an incredible discussion on basically the culmination of this passage in Matthew chapter 4, where Satan is tempting Jesus, okay? And literally, he's taken him through all these, different steps. He's tempted him twice now already in our story, and now is the final temptation of Matthew chapter 4. And we start reading in 8, 9, 10, 11 as we culminate this whole story, and this picture is painted for us. It's so beautiful. I love how literally Satan is trying to set Jesus up right here. Right? He's trying to tempt him. He's trying to get him to trip up. But yet every single time it doesn't work, and you would think he would get the point by now. You would think that he would understand what's going on. What did you hear last night? What did you gather from the scripture that we talked about, that we read? Justice, let's start with you, and then we'll work our way back this way. What did you get? What stuck out? What did you enjoy from last night's message?
So you had, somewhere in that message, you had said something about hanging around different people, and when you hang around those people, you start to smell like them.
Yeah.
So, they're wearing a certain cologne, or how your wife had worn that perfume, and
right.
her pillow smelled like it.
Yeah.
I thought of that as you hang around certain people, and you start to act like them too. Mm-hmm. Like if you hang around an older brother or sister, you may start to talk more like them.
Yeah.
And you begin to eventually start acting more like them.
Yeah.
So I thought if you hang around with people who don't make the wisest choices,
come on,
and the best decisions, you're going to start doing the same.
Yeah.
If you hang around better people, or people who make better decisions, you're going to start making better decisions.
Yeah.
And I know people may hear that a lot, but it's such a big idea and a big issue that it wouldn't hurt for people to hear it again.
Yeah. It's kind of like the old adage or the old saying, show me your friends, I'll show you your future kind of thing. And basically where I got that from, where we pulled that from was James 4, right? Where we read that scripture and it says that if you humble yourself, the scripture says before God. Humble yourself before God, that's number one. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. That's what the scripture says. So it first takes humbling yourself before God, being before God, being in the presence of God. So then you're acting you're living out, you smell, you have the fragrance or the aroma of Jesus, of the throne room. So when you identify yourself with Jesus, then you operate in authority. Then you have the power. And then there's this action that takes place. There's an action of resisting the devil. So when you smell like Jesus and you actively resist the devil, then the ultimate equal sign here is he will flee from you. He will run from you. Dude, I thank you for bringing that up because that's so good. I told Kelsey the other night, I said, hey, I talked about you in my sermon. She goes, oh gosh, what did you say? And I told her, and she was like, is that okay to say? I was like, yes, baby, you smell good, you know? But how many times do we associate ourselves with people that don't smell good? Yeah. Physically and literally.
That's everywhere you go, I feel, because they say, almost in every sport you play, champions hang with champions. Yep. And if you want to win, you go hang with champions. But if not, you're just in it to do it.
Yeah. How does that associate in your realm with what you do in the rodeo a lot, dude? You're constantly there, being around people. Obviously, I'm going to say this because I haven't been a part of it, but obviously in that world, it's kind of stinky. It smells, literally, because of all the manure that happens.
Well, it smells in both ways, but it's kind of the same deal. Just hanging with champs. You gotta make yourself a winner and get in the mindset. But it is a very stinky deal, and you gotta hang out with the people who make the right choices, because going down the road, you never know how long your drive will be. So you can it's so easy to turn to tobacco or beer going down the road.
Yeah, everything that's involved in that whole aspect.
You just got to make sure you make the right choices going down the road.
Something that I think of in that context is basically how, even though the environment may smell literally, doesn't matter the atmosphere that you may be in, you determine what you smell like in your atmosphere.
Yeah.
You have to do, you have to make those cognitive decisions to say, hey, listen, I know these people may do this. I know they may act like this. And again, we're talking about being in the world but not of the world, right? We're talking about being in an atmosphere but not letting that atmosphere basically contaminate you or become toxic to you in order to basically bring down how you live, how you act, how you talk, how you walk, et cetera, et cetera. Did you have something else to add? I know you're thinking.
Yeah, there's been multiple times, my teammates have, I don't want to say turned on me, but they've kind of got me to notice a couple things, because I started going back to the routine I had in high school, just kind of seclude myself when I get to the rodeos, because there's a bunch of things that can distract you.
Sure.
When you get there, it's like, man, I want to win this rodeo, win a paycheck, and you got a job to do, so you focus. And I get away from everybody, and my team just came to me one day, and they're like, man, what's going on? Because it's like you're not with us, and it's kind of making you look dumb that you're the only canola pony sitting in the corner just doing his own thing. Come hang out with the team. And I was like, man, no offense, but I'm just kind of trying to do my own thing here. And like you said, I'm hanging with champions that I see people that actually want to work at it.
So sometimes it just takes you separating yourself out of the situation that may not be the healthiest. And some of you maybe watching or will watch this later, you'll have to make that decision to say, hey, I cannot associate myself with, because Jesus had it. At some point, he stopped and said, hey, get away from me. I don't need this anymore. You've got to get out of here. Listen, we've had this discussion long enough. You've tried. You've tempted me. You just honestly, you're getting on my nerves at this point. Get away from me. And at that point in time, when Satan left, God intervened, and we see the angels come to his aid, and be there for Jesus as Scripture clearly says. I want to encourage you guys and everyone who's watching to get to a place to where, just like Isaac was saying, and just like Justice is saying, it takes you at some point becoming so close to Jesus that when you smell like Him, and then you're going to begin to separate yourself from the things that would otherwise make you smell disgusting.
Yeah.
Because people don't want to hang around that. People don't want to hang around with you if you stink. Let's be honest. Anything, last closing words on this segment in regards to the sermon last night, the message? What else did you get? Anything else to just, hey, want to close with this? Good?
Yeah,
dude, that's good.
Yeah,
I like that. Timely talks. Let's talk about what's going on in the world around us. Let's talk about, I know last week we talked about some stimulus checks. Everybody's getting all excited about getting money back. Let's make sure that we tithe off of that. 10% of $1,200 is $120, just so y'all know. Or for you teenagers, 10% of $500 is what? 50. Okay, good. I was just making sure.
I had to, it took me a second.
Wait, what? Okay, 50. Yes,
Huh?
it's $50. 1, 2, 3. I don't have that many fingers, Pastor Weston. No.
Use your toes.
$50 of 500 that's the 10%, the tithe. What do you guys see that's going on? What's funny? What's crazy? What are you guys thinking about, man, in these days? The crazy chaos that we're living in right now.
You want to go first?
I was trying to think of what was new from last week.
What's
new? I got news from my mom that next week we have to pick up a packet from school highlighting materials that we need to know for next year.
Gotcha.
And IOTA people don't have to do anything
Yeah.
for work-wise up until this point.
Right.
So it's kind of lame.
Yeah. So it's almost a little shocking, right?
Yeah.
Because your mind, let's be honest, for all you students who are watching, your mind hasn't necessarily been on school a whole lot. Let's be honest, okay? Your mind has probably more so been on Netflix and social media and
Everything else except for school.
everything and anything. This has been an early
What's
summer,
again?
but with an early summer has now become catch-up work. All right, you got to be aware of this. You got to be aware of that. What are you seeing, Isaac, in your collegiate career right now when it comes to some of your schooling? What are your professors doing?
They're aggravating me because they don't open up my
Aggravating
tests.
me.
Like, there ain't nothing changed. Everything's still online.
Right.
But they switched every course. Like, I don't have any more face-to-face classes
Right.
now that I'm home.
Yeah.
So it's just
Everything's online.
We all our tests and stuff are online anyway. So not much has changed with that.
Yeah.
But
Do you
most
find?
of our work is.
I just thought about this because I was talking to a student last night who was telling me that their teacher allowed them to use notes, and it was acceptable. It was totally okay to use notes on their tests, which is going to happen, right? That is especially when the teacher, specifically when the teacher tells you, "Hey, you are allowed to take notes." Well, this student said that they felt convicted and told their teacher, it was like, "Hey, I used my notes. I didn't know if I could use these specific notes on the test." And the teacher came back, "Yes, it's totally fine. It's perfect. I told you it was okay." And they got like a 95 out of 100 or something like that. But I say that to say this: do you find the integrity of students, your age, your peers? Do you find that it's becoming more difficult in this season of life to have integrity while taking classes online?
Yeah, all the time.
Because it's so easy to, you don't have accountability right there in front of you, looking over your shoulder, making sure you're not looking up the answers, making sure you're not cheating. How important do you, let's be honest, let's be real.
Yeah.
How important do you find that being right now in your season of life?
Right now, home-wise, I ain't gonna lie, there's this app called Socratic that I use.
Socratic, okay.
And especially for
What class do you use that for? Because I know what it's for, but let everybody else know what it's going on.
I use them for just about any class except for math. Like I have a small engines class, or mainly blueprints.
Okay.
And my teacher don't help me in blueprints, so Professor Socratic helps me.
Professor Socratic, okay.
Yeah, he gives me all the answers. He's pretty
Right.
cool. But yeah, I use that because I just.
Is that something that you would discuss, Justice, with your professor? That like, hey, like resources. What can we use? What can we not? What does that look like for you?
In person, I think my teachers normally would tell us just what you can use, and I think mostly in science, that's when we use our notes.
Sure.
Because I know next year for biology, our biology teacher has us take notes all the time.
Right.
And that's what he uses, I think, for most tests.
Sure.
Notes. I haven't taken any online classes. That's not required that.
Okay.
So I wouldn't know, but I would definitely think that there would be a whole lot more doorways,
right,
and like temptation to use notes, even if you know you're not supposed to,
sure,
or if you don't know,
right.
I think there would be a lot more possibilities.
And this is the pot calling the kettle black. I did a lot of dishonest
cheating.
Okay, yes, for a common vernacular, cheating. I didn't do a whole lot. Listen, y'all, I passed French 3 because I had a very close friend who actually did her work, and I cheated y'all.
Thank God for those kind of people.
So bad. But, I mean, thank God, yes, because I would have failed the class otherwise. But no, thank God, because I cheated. So I want to encourage you, because I have felt as a youth pastor, and I'm just being honest, as a youth pastor, whenever I hear students or you guys and your peers talking about resourcing against your teacher's will, and I know we have several teachers who are youth leaders who come to our church, they would not encourage that.
Yeah.
But I know that during a season in time, I know a lot of teachers are allowing you to resource even more because they are not as available as they would be if they were in person. And so I would encourage you to pray about it. If you feel convicted about using a resource, then ask your teacher.
Right.
Like just because I promise you, whenever this student last night was telling me about this, I was so proud of them because they felt convicted enough to communicate it. And they were willing to meet the consequences, whatever that may be. If it was a failed grade, or guess what? If it's a passing grade because the teacher thought it was honorable enough, I wonder if the teacher is going to honor them later because of their honesty and their integrity and their character to say, hey, listen, I don't know if I should have done this. I probably should have asked you first. Here I am. Do with me what you will. I'm sorry if I messed up. It says a lot about a man of God, a woman of God, who walks in integrity and character. And I think just because we're talking about school and homework and things like that, doesn't all of a sudden negate the fact of, well, no, this actually speaks volumes in other areas of your life. If you're willing to cheat in this area, what other areas are you willing to cheat in?
Right.
Come on, somebody, right? So I think it says a lot about it. What else? What else do you guys see outside of school, friends, graduations? Everybody's adopting a senior right now. That's a big deal. I know you're a freshman in college. You're a freshman in high school. So that doesn't necessarily pertain to you guys. But what else are you guys seeing in your world that's just crazy right now?
Seeing a lot of my house.
Yeah. Seeing a lot of the inside of your house.
Evermore.
Hanging out with
seeing as much
siblings. Do you got Netflix or Disney Plus?
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
Work.
Isaac said, I ain't got time for that.
Sometimes Netflix, but I don't have a Disney Plus account, so
it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it. We have.
That's back in the gap. You can watch all them old shows.
Right.
When I was a kid.
So we mainly got Disney Plus for Camry, our 3-year-old, but technically, like Hidden Agenda, I kind of got it for me because obviously Marvel's on there. They have all the Marvel stuff, Star Wars stuff, and they have all the old time like Spider-Man, X-Men. Come on, somebody! I see you guys. Like all those TV shows that I grew up watching, which I'm like trying to recap. But Kelsey makes fun of me whenever I try to watch that stuff. So, what else? Anything else? Timely topics? Don't laugh at me, Justice. Nothing. All right. So let's go to our last.
Before we
oh
on,
yeah,
like
what's up?
Like that home. Like okay, everything for me is online, and I'm just like saying it to say it. Like don't. If you have questions. Like for your teachers, don't be afraid to shoot them an email or
Absolutely.
text them. Because I mean, no question is a bad question.
Yep. Even
if it sounds stupid, just no question is a bad question. Because I mean, it makes sense. If it makes sense to you to be a legit question, it can make sense to Justice here or Pastor Weston.
Yeah.
So no question is a stupid question.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad he brought that up. So as we close with our final segment today, Rudd, what are you doing? I want to ask you guys, man, what are you doing? What's keeping you busy? Obviously, Netflix. Justice is binging on Disney Plus videos and things like that. Isaac, share a little bit because this brother came in today and he's like, bro, what a morning. Tell us what you're doing these days because I know, obviously, online classes and everything that's going on, you're staying busy. Tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, man, usually every week we have like a Tuesday practice when I'm at college and we get on bucking horses and bulls and all that other stuff, and we just practice throughout the week, and it's a good thing to get like away from it for a little while because too much of something can ruin.
Sure.
And like I got on my first 2 bucking horses 2 nights ago, and the first one was like I don't think I could have ever rode that bad, but
yeah.
I finished strong, and I just came back to life.
Dude, I saw a video of you, bro, and it was like solid. I was like, go, and people were like, yeah. I was like, yeah. I was right there with them. I was like, dude, that is awesome.
Dude, like it's another level of hype. In the middle of riding a bucking horse and you're hearing everything behind you. Yeah, go on. It's just like, you betcha.
Yeah. What are you doing for work these days? I know you woke up early this morning. You've been working hard.
This morning we had like a tornado come through.
Last night was crazy storms going on.
The whole thing.
You slept through the whole time?
My whole family.
Lucky. I'll switch.
Except for me.
I was tired, dude. Like, I was sitting in my bed, my whole room was lighting up because of the thunder. I was like, and I was on the phone with my girlfriend. I was like, hey, do you hear all this? And she said, yeah, what is that? And I was like, dude, I don't even know. And it sounded like a train coming through.
I know for us, so last night we were laying in bed. I had to get up at 1 o'clock because Kinley, our little 10-month-old, was fussing. She was upset. I don't know why I said it like that, fussing. She was fussing. She was fussing.
She had a tooth.
She had some attitude about it. But I went and for 30 minutes, like I patted her to try to go back to sleep. She finally did. I go back up into our bedroom, finally lay down, and then that's like when the storm starts hitting. So I'm like, great, it's about to get real. Well, sure enough, like not even 5 minutes later, after I finally getting back in bed, the storm's hitting, thunder and lightning, lighting up. All of a sudden, Camry, our 3-year-old, comes in. She's upset. She's crying. So she gets in bed with us, which is a first. She never does that in the middle of the night. So at this point, this is like 1:45 in the morning. So she spends time up there with us. About 15 minutes later, Kelsey finally says, hey, I want to take her back to her bed, put her back to sleep. So she takes her down. Guys, I'm talking about 10 minutes later. Thunder and lightning. Kinley gets back up. She's upset. She is crying, fussing. So I'm like, great. All right, I'm going to have to go feed her. So I go heat up a bottle, take it down to her. I was up from 1 to 3 last night. So I'm a little tired, just a tad bit. So that's what I'm doing these days. That and watching some Netflix shows with my bride, taking care of babies when we go home. We're doing a lot of filming. a lot of recording. We're about to record some stuff with our next steps. We've been recording a lot of material and content for our youth. But Justice, what are you doing these days, man, besides just Netflix and coming up here? Man, tell us, man, what are you reading these days? I know you're an avid reader and you like to stay up to date since online classes aren't happening. What's going on in Justice's
Mostly
world?
the same things.
Yeah.
But my brother came down from Reston,
Okay.
so I've been hanging out with him. I do a lot of
And how many brothers do you have?
3.
You have 3 older brothers? So you are the baby.
Yep.
Oh, everybody say hello, Justice the baby. Hey, I'm actually the baby of my family as well. Isaac over here is the
I'm
oldest.
an oddball out.
Sticking out like a sore thumb. What have you and your brother been doing to hang out, to pass the time, chilling, relaxing, shooting some people outside? No.
Every time he comes down, I like to go outside, throw football with him.
Cool.
Sometimes a frisbee.
Yeah.
Because Tech, that's where he goes to college.
Yeah.
Gotta stay up
They
on
have
that ultimate frisbee.
Ultimate
yeah,
frisbee.
they have
Let's
ultimate
go.
Frisbee.
So he participates a lot in that intramural stuff. Cool.
Yeah, he likes more athletic stuff.
Man, and that just struck a chord real quick, and we'll close after this. But man, how important is that, especially during this season,
Right.
for siblings? Because I know you have a younger sister, I have an older sister, and Justice, you have 3 older brothers. How important is that during this season? Because you are around one another so much. I know you can be a little annoyed at some times
Yeah.
with them. But for how many brothers are actually out of the house? 1 or 2?
2.
So 2 are actually out of the house.
There 3. All 3 of them were.
Yeah.
And then my oldest brother had his house had issues.
Oh, okay. So he had to move back home.
So he
Gotcha.
we're currently working on another property for him.
Sure.
So he'll get there eventually.
So speak on that, man. How important is it, or how important have you found it to be, life-giving, uplifting, encouraging, even for you to spend that valuable time with your brother and brothers in general?
It's pretty nice. We had this past weekend, our whole family was at the house
Mm-hmm.
and had a big dinner, Easter celebration.
Sure.
My dad was there. My whole family. It was really cool. We played games.
Yeah.
You know, we all had a good time. There was no real conflict.
Right.
It was just we enjoyed it and we didn't worry about what was happening anywhere else. It was pretty nice.
What about you and Emma Grace? Y'all been getting on each other's nerves, or
Yeah, a little bit.
finding some fulfillment a little bit?
We've been like sometimes it's like we find common ground.
Right.
We're like just kind of playful, and I mean when we're playful we still get on my mom's nerves, but
Yeah.
but that's just us. That's how we do it. But like sometimes we get in like little arguments because we just don't know. We're being kids again. It's just like I guess you can say I'm catching up for all the time that I was in college.
Right, yeah. Man, I know that I mentioned this last night in the sermon, and I encourage you, if you have not seen or heard that message, to go back and watch that. But I mentioned the whole fact of how Satan in this season and time and what we're dealing with this pandemic, and everybody feels like they're restricted in their homes. They feel so almost too close, a little claustrophobic even. I find that Satan is turning quality time into quarreling, quarantine into quarreling. Like you're fighting with the people that you love the most, when this should be the number one time. And guys, I'm speaking to myself because I don't want to use the time that I have with my wife and babies fussing and getting on each other's nerves. I want that to be quality time. And so I would encourage you, wherever you are, however many siblings you have, or if you're a single child and you're by yourself, you're an only child, spend quality time with your family. Spend quality time with your, if maybe you have step parents, like spend quality time with them, because I promise you, God has a plan and a purpose for you and for them. For some of you to get something out of this season. Don't let this season be a wasted season. I said this to one of our other students. It feels like this season has been a waited, and you're waiting. Meaning this is a weighted season. It's heavy. You feel like you're just going through it. You also feel like you're just waiting on the governor to lift all the bans and all the curfews and everything else. Like, you're waiting on the time to pass, and you feel like it's going to take forever. But you also feel like you're wading through this. W-A-D. You're wading through the waters and trying to get to the other side. It's a waiting season, but let it not be a wasted season that you're walking through. Enjoy those moments. Enjoy the quality time. Enjoy the times that you have together to where you're not getting on each other's nerves, but you're making memories that will last forever. Enjoy the moments. It'll be worth it. Hopefully you've enjoyed this time. Thank you guys for joining me and hanging out. Yeah, of course. We love you guys. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. And make sure you go back to our post. Listen, I don't know if we're ever going to get a TikTok because we're close, but I think we still have a long way to go. Hey, I'm cool with not doing the renegade dance. Also, coming up later in this week, Kelsey and I are going to do a quarantine cut. And Kelsey is going to attempt to cut my hair because this is getting ratchet. And barbershops are closed. And so make sure you look for that video. Tune in. I think we're going to do it live. And she's going to attempt to cut my hair. So we love you guys. Thank y'all for joining us, for hanging out. Hope you have a great rest of your week. And we'll see you next time.